Hey everyone, it's Dallas back in the shop again today. Here to show you how to install our new 7075 aluminum rear suspension links for the 6th gen Bronco. First of all, tell you a little bit about these. Like I said, 7075 aluminum. For those of you that aren't familiar, the reason why we use aluminum is because it's better, flat out. The more in-depth explanation, steel links, chromoly, DOM, heavy wall tubing, all commonly used stuff in the past. You smash it on a rock, it bends, it stays bent. 7075 is what they call a memory material. It will bend, it will then spring back into shape. It's proven to be absolutely fantastic in rock crawling competition, Ultra 4. That's where we started using it. It was with the Red Bull rock crawlers years and years ago. We had big problems bending front suspension links on one of our crawlers. We went to 7075 and never had another problem. Ever since then, here at Stinky Fab, we started building all of our steering stuff for the Jeeps out of it. Suspension links, we've had absolutely fantastic luck. So we started making links for the Bronco, and today I'm going to show you the install. Now before we get started, I'll go ahead and warn you, this is somewhat of a complicated process, especially for the upper links. Just because of the way Ford positioned the gas tank, it blocks a lot of access for the passenger side suspension links. So if you're not super mechanical, I'd probably recommend taking your vehicle to a shop that knows what they're doing, or at least get a friend who knows what they're doing. We are going to have to drop the gas tank. There are ways around that if you're only doing the lowers, but the proper way, the way we're going to show you, is disconnect everything and take it out of there. Unfortunately, it takes a while, but is what it is. So let's get this thing up in the air. We'll get started. All right, here is the full set of new links we're going to be putting in our Bronco over there. As I said before, 7075 aluminum on the links, and all the ends we only use genuine Johnny joints from Rock Jock 4x4, except no substitute. There is a reason why these things have been pretty much regarded as the joint for many, many years now, decades now. Lots of companies have copied them. Not sure any of them have actually made anything better. They're fully rebuildable, fully serviceable. They've got urethane races in them, so they dampen some of that road vibration. These are just the best quality joint on the market. And of course, fully threaded adjustments, so you guys can, if you're doing a custom suspension setup or a big lift, you'll be able to adjust the lengths of the links to get your pinion angle just right, and also if you need to move the axle back a little bit in order to get things all lined up, get the wheel centered in the wheel well, or if you just want to do a little bit of a wheelbase stretch. So just to show you what I'm talking about here, this is the upper suspension link on the passenger side. As you can see, it fits in the bracket there, but you got the gas tank right here on the left, and the bolt head, yeah, it's back behind there. You can't even get to it. It's fully trapped in there. And then on the lower, kind of the same deal. We got a little kind of a guard plate, and unfortunately the bolt comes out inwards towards the gas tank. So now if you're only doing lowers, what you can do is loosen up that bolt, pull it out a little bit, and sawzall the end of it off, and then push it outwards, and then replace the bolt, obviously, and you can put the nut back on the inside. So if you're only doing lowers, you can get away with not dropping the tank here, but since we're doing uppers, all right, first things first, you got to pull loose the vent line and the fuel filler neck there. For the fuel filler neck, obviously just take loose the hose clamp here. the disconnect on the line there, you got to pull outward on the little locking tab, and then you'll be able to squeeze the button inward to release. Now that we've got the rear to fuel lines disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and unbolt the fuel tank from the vehicle. As you can see, our Wildtrak here does have a skid plate. Not all of them do, but I believe all the mounting points are the same, whether it just has the straps around it or skid plate. Skid plate's just going to make it a little heavier. And as you can see, I also have a stand there ready to catch the gas tank as it comes down. And I guess it should go without saying, but I'll go ahead and throw it in there. This is a lot easier if you're low on fuel. So go ahead and drive your Bronco around until it's on fumes. Make this job a little easier. This does use a 18mm socket for the bolts. Alright, so I've just left one of the front bolts in there very loosely. I'm going to start lowering this down so I can actually pull that filler neck off. Alright, so here we are. We're looking in from the rear again. As you can see, our fuel filler neck is now completely disconnected from up here. Now we had to lower the fuel tank quite a bit in order to get that hose to slide off of there. And as you can see, now that upper bracket, we can actually get to it with some tools, and we've got a bit of movement on the tank to enable us to get that bolt loose. So that's what I'm going to attack next. See how it goes. I'm hoping that I can do this without dropping the tank entirely. Well, I'm normally a big fan of using power tools, but in this case, the only thing that's going to get in there is a ratchet. So I'm using my biggest ratchet for the most leverage, a 24mm socket. Once I get it broken loose, I'll go to something a little shorter than this long handle. So you can see on the axle end of the upper link here, they've got this little cover over top of the head of the bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Torx fastener, looks like you can also use a flathead. And then take the axle end off and we should have everything loose. Alright, there it is. Okay, so now we've got our lengths all adjusted to match the factory link in our case. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in. Come in from over the axle, slide it into the bracket. Make sure you got the right end going forward. The links are, or the joints are a different width on the axle than they are at the frame. Slide that in, get the bolt started. The other thing I did here, you'll notice I put the grease fitting on the bottom because it's probably going to be our easiest access. It's probably still not going to be great, but I think we can get to it from the bottom even once the gas tank's back up in there. And at the axle side, I put the grease fitting on top because that'll be pretty easy to get to as well. And one other thing may not have mentioned here. Number one, of course, fully lock down those jam nuts and make sure you're using anti-seize. Otherwise, the threads can bind up over time, and if you ever need to adjust them again, you're going to have a difficult time turning the joints. So now the hard part is done for the passenger side upper. Now we just got to do the driver's side, which, as you can see, wide open, super easy. The process is totally the same, so I'm not going to bother showing it here. It's really just pull the two bolts out, pull the link, adjust it, and put it in just like the passenger side, only easier. So now it's time to start working on this lower link. Again, we're going to start on the passenger side because it's the tough one. Driver's side will be much the same, but without the gas tank in the way. As you can see, we've dropped the gas tank down quite a bit further, far enough for the bolt there to slide above the gas tank. You'll notice there are a couple of fuel lines up there. You can see the clips that they normally go into. You're going to need to make sure that you snap those back into place as you raise the tank back up again. But first things first, we got this cover plate guard thing on the bolt there, or that covers up the bolt. We're going to go ahead and remove the two retaining bolts from that and get that out of our way. These two bolts, they are the Torx, they're a T25. Now that that's out of the way, we can remove the lower link bolts. Now, you may notice we've got our gas tank all the way back up in place again. I pushed it up, I made sure those hoses are clipped into their retainer clips, and went ahead and bolted it in. Reason being, I'm going to put this bolt in from the outside. I don't want to have to deal with dropping this tank again if I ever have to take off the link or I want to do any kind of servicing or whatever. So, make it easy on myself, run it the opposite way. The only catch is there's this flag that hangs off of the bolt. Normally when it's on the inside, it engages in a hole and it holds the bolt from rotating so that you can just spin the nut off. Obviously that's not going to work so well here. It would rotate all the way around until it ran into something. However, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold the bolt in place with a wrench and I'll tighten the nut from the inside. It'll be a little bit more work, but in the long run, it's a lot less work than dropping the tank all the way down. Again, remember the joints are a different width at the axle than they are at the frame, so make sure you have the right ones in the right places and that it's going in the right way. There we go. All right, that's it. We got all our links installed here. This thing is ready to hit the trail. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Be sure to check out stinkyfab.com to see all the new and exciting stuff we got coming out. We got a lot of new products coming out these days, and hope to see you all on the trail soon.